right, we'll call the recessed agenda to order. And we'll ask for a motion to dispense with items 2, 3, and 4. Can we get a motion to that effect?
Move to amend the agenda by deleting items 2, 3, and 4.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion by A, second by Jason. We remove items 2, 3, and 4 from the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Manager, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up on the agenda, this is item 5. This is an update on local preparedness for coronavirus COVID-19. This is both for information and for action. Dare County, the town of Manteo, and other organizations are working together closely on the local response to the coronavirus, COVID-19. It is important to get news and updates from authoritative sources, and Dare County has set up an information clearinghouse at www.darenc.com. The site at darenc.com includes the latest guidance from the federal government, the state, and local governments, and we've made sure to point people in that direction. In addition, on that page will be information from local municipalities, including the town of Manteo. Here at the town of Manteo, we are working hard to maintain continuity of government while maintaining delivery of services to the community. Safety is our top priority, and we are implementing planned actions in accordance with evolving guidance from the federal government, the state, and Dare County. Our team continues to promote the health, safety, and welfare of the community and staff. Our goal is to deliver all necessary services while simultaneously protecting the citizens and staff during this situation. From an operational perspective, we have already started undertaking key actions in our emergency response plan. I do want to make sure to point out that we have a wonderful team effort here at the town of Manteo in terms of this. I'd also like to make a shout out to our Fire Marshal Kevin Zork, who also serves and is in charge of our emergency plan, and Michelle Bunce, who's been promoting on the communications program, and other staff who have been absolutely critical of this effort. Our goal, of course, we want to make sure that we undertake the action shown in our response plan, and we're taking precautions in accordance with authoritative guidance, and they include internal steps, such as including, but not limited to, limiting access to public facilities without suspending service, getting necessary personal protective equipment, or PPE, deployed among staff, also implementing social distancing strategies, and I think we see evidence of that here tonight. We are also assessing telework opportunities, suspending non-essential travel, focusing on prevention strategies, and sanitizing public facilities 3 times a day. With regard to continuity of government, we are already preparing to hold future board meetings via conference call or other electronic means in accordance with section 143.318.12 of the North Carolina General Statutes. Of course, that would be at a decision of the board, but we are prepared for that eventuality. We make sure it is our firm desire to enable continued community engagement, including the important public comment sessions, and we are working on systems that will allow public comment even in the electronic environment. There are 2 key items, however, that the board needs to hear about as we work through the current public health emergency. First, the guidance we have received indicates we can help in the current emergency by suspending disconnection of water and utility services, and this has been done in cities, towns, and utility districts around the country. Without water, it would be impossible to handle basic sanitation needs. Therefore, I am asking for approval from the Board of Commissioners to suspend disconnections of utility services in an emergency. And if it's all right, Mr. Mayor, for the purpose of the public, if it's all right, I'll read the 1 paragraph that we're proposing to add. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're proposing to add to the Code of Ordinances this 2-sentence paragraph. In the event of an emergency, declared or undeclared, the town manager is delegated the authority to suspend service disconnections for the affected account, class of accounts, or all accounts. This authorization may be extended to those accounts disconnected within the 30-day period immediately prior to the onset of the emergency. If I may, Mr. Mayor, that is a text amendment, but before, of course, in this situation, I would be most grateful if the board could consider that item and perhaps even make a motion to adopt that amendment.
Are you ready for the motion now?
Yes, sir.
All right. We had to have a motion on the town manager's request on the suspension of water disconnections. Is there a motion?
So moved. I move to approve the proposed amendment to the Code of Ordinances.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Christine, seconded by Eddie, that we approve the request of the town manager on the suspension of water utility connections. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. The second item that also, this particular item doesn't necessarily require board action, but it is of such community importance that I thought it was important to bring it up now. It's also a fast-moving situation in response to the evaluation of crowd gathering activities. So as we've seen over the last week, the crowd gathering activity guidance from the federal government, the state government, and even to the CDC has made smaller and smaller crowds allowable. In fact, the guidance from the CDC goes out up to 2 months where they're prohibiting crowd gathering in excess of 50. Now, that puts us in a very difficult situation. We've had a number of events, both that have been planned here in the town that all have already been canceled. The Bluegrass Island Festival has been announced that they're canceling that event in late May. Also, we've had weddings and other events. Of course, the town does some of these events. Those also have been canceled in accordance with the guidance. We do have a couple of events that are at the cusp of that, and I'll give 2 examples. One would be Dare Day, and one would be the Farmers Market. Now, the Farmers Market would start within the time where they're prohibiting those kind of gatherings. Dare Day is right on the edge of that, but I have 3 factors to consider as we look at Dare Day and how we would handle that. Issue number 1 is public health. So what is the likelihood that in the current guidance where we continue to see this situation evolve, that the CDC would, just a week or 2 after they are prohibiting gatherings above 50, what's the likelihood that they would all of a sudden allow us to have a gathering of 5,000? That seems to me unlikely, but again, it's not a certainty. The second issue is fiscal impact. For us to pull off Dare Day, we're expected to be signing contracts this week for everything from bands, children's activities, and other necessary services to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. However, if we sign those contracts and the event doesn't come off, we're still on the hook. And to me, that does not feel like fiscal prudence to knowingly go into a situation and sign contracts for which the taxpayers will be on the hook. And the third issue, which just came up in less than the last 24 hours, is the Dare Day grant. The initial committee at the Visitors Bureau had offered a $15,000 grant, but it needs to be approved by the board. The board meets tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And in the event we believe we may drop this event, they want us to tell them by tomorrow morning before their board meets whether we're accepting it, or whether we would accept it or not. And in that case, there are other people who have later events who could benefit from that money rather than us taking it and then not holding the event. So with those 3 factors put together, my recommendation is to go ahead, cancel Dare Day, postpone the farmers market, and I'll come back to the board with guidance at its next meeting on 4th of July.
All right, any discussion from the board to the manager?
I guess the only thought is, rather than flat out canceling it, pushing it back, tying it into another event, you could combine it with 4th of July, which could get canceled, or you could push it to the fall, rather than, it hurts to say, don't do it at all. And it may get, you combine it with 4th of July, it might get canceled anyway. But we're not giving up on it.
Suspending it, further notice or something like that, if it's the long one. What do you?
And I guess the only question is if there's grant money involved that needs to be talked about tomorrow. But if you tie it in with another event, do we not rely on that as much? I'm just kind of thinking out loud,
Well, I'm on the tourist bureau board, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do that tomorrow, because they meet on grant requests to approve them tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir.
And that's why they're going to go ahead and have the meeting. And so I don't know if we can get the money back or not. I don't know.
Or even if we're not able to salvage it at another time in the same manner, but maybe still have it, celebrated when we can do it, even at a smaller scale.
That's a good idea. That's why I'm thinking just put it off and see what happens. Don't
Right.
totally cancel it, 'cause I think Jason's saying that, but just stall it or put it off till a later date and see what happens, because this stuff could last a year, it could last 6 months.
I agree. I think there should be, I'd hate to cancel it because it, hopefully, we'd prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Hopefully it'll get better, but we might need some kind of community gathering after everything gets better.
Now, if we get the grant money, we can always return it, can't we? If we don't do it.
I don't know what, if they approve the money and then you don't have an event, what, I don't know how they operate.
Can we even ask for the money if we don't have a date or a plan?
I'll ask for it in some facsimile, like you're saying, just say, how about just leave it there and let us knowing it's available at a later date. I
So,
don't mind asking.
I mean, I guess the motion is to delay, or is there a need for, just delay it, not cancel it, and then we'll do something
I
at
think
some
we ought
point?
to delay it or stall it or something. I think that's what Christine's saying. We shouldn't cancel it because it's been going on for 40, 50 years.
I'd say postpone it too. And with that postponement, it will certainly give the small businesses in Manteo some type of hope instead of just canceling. We're gonna need a gathering for small businesses in Manteo to try to recover. I can't say they recover, but that will give them some type of hope. So I'm sure the town of Manteo is probably not the only one on the grant list for the tourist bureau.
Oh,
So,
no, there's
yes,
30.
so they're gonna have to make some kind of waiver.
And
because-
there's other situations such as Dare Days on that grant proposal. They're gonna have to handle a lot of them tomorrow.
Right.
Yep.
And nothing's, no crowd gathering, so they're gonna have to make some kind of concessions for that.
Well, we're kind of going against, we're asking, the town managers ask us to go by the CDC or whatever they are, controlled and not meet no more than 50 people. And we're going to have more than 50 people at farmers market,
Right.
Dare Days and everything else, so we can't have it one way. We can't have a cake and eat it too.
Right.
But so far, there's 0 person in Dare County who tested, but I don't know if nobody's been tested for it, to tell you the truth. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, going back to the coronavirus, it is, the most recent we have as of a few hours ago, there has not been a positive test in Dare County. However, tests have been performed.
Okay. So if there is a positive test in Dare County, we should cancel. I'd say if that happens before that time, we need to cancel Dare Days if one person tests for the coronavirus in Dare County.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yeah, I'm agreeing with everybody. I think they're on target, because nobody knows that. We're in new territory, new grounds on this thing. Nobody knows what's going on here. There's so much misinformation too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, members of the board. Appreciate the feedback. I acknowledge we don't need a motion for that, and as an operational issue, what we'll do then is to go ahead, notify of postponement of the upcoming events, Dare Day and Farmers Market, and we'll continue to update folks via all of our channels, website, social media, press release, et cetera, as we get to the point where we can reschedule. I do think it's appropriate, though, for us to notify the Visitors Bureau as well as vendors and other folks about the postponement, so yes, they can get their application in the queue, and we will keep them posted as we go along the way. But again, appreciate the feedback from the board, and we'll make sure to get the word out as appropriate.
Thank you. Thanks, James.
I just kind of snowballing here because I'm uncharted territories, but maybe for the people that normally do the farmer's market, if there's some way that on our website we can list those small businesses and who to contact in case somebody normally gets their vegetables from person A, then our citizens will know who to contact, and maybe they can arrange their own way to figure that out.
The Outer Banks Voice today started that, and letting the businesses go on the Outer Banks Voice and tell you what they're going to do, but carry out and open or close. And there's 8 or 10 businesses is already listed this afternoon. Just exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may interject?
Yeah, sure.
And appreciate that, yes, we will make sure to take that guidance into account. Also, the staff has already been working behind the scenes with the assistance of the Main Street, with the State Department of Commerce, Main Street, as we start to enter into the pathway to that program, as well as some staff ideas and some grassroots ideas. We're trying to find some mechanisms by which we can support small and local businesses during this time. So every idea like that counts as we start to gather these together and try to deploy them in the community. So we appreciate that feedback very much.
All right, I think you have your guidance. Let's move on.
Yes, sir. Next one, item number 6. This is for action. It's the approval of the contract for Shallow Bag Bay boardwalk repairs. In this particular case, this was standard procurement. It was a construction project, so we issued an invitation for bids. The IFB came back. Went out on the 18th of February. Bids were due on the 9th. And we did have 3 bids as noted in the staff report. The apparent low bidder was Lynn Small Inc. They had all of the required things in their package, including contractor licensure, certificate of insurance, and all the other necessary information. They also passed reference checking and related things. So given that this would typically be awarded to the low bidder, assuming that we've got a responsible bidder and a responsive bid, we are recommending the approval of the contract to Lynn Small Inc. in the amount of $117,400 for the Shallow Bag Bay boardwalk repairs.
I've got 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
I don't know Lynn Small. Maybe I'm not supposed to, the corporation. Where are they from?
They're from the Kitty Hawk, I believe.
Thank you.
And I got a
Ms.
follow-up question, too. I'll do
Yes.
it both same time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Town Planner Melissa Dickerson, this is a project under her purview, and she actually has answers to those questions.
Well, let me help you out. I'm going to ask another question.
Yes, sir.
Are they contracted to do this type of work?
Yes, sir.
They've done it before.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's all I want to know.
They're from Powell's Point.
Okay.
And recently, when after Hurricane Dorian, when we lost some pilings in the marina, they were the
Okay.
contractor locally that was able to deploy here to sink those pilings. So they've done work for the town within the last 12 months.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve the manager's request to contract with Lynn Small Incorporated, an amount of $117,400 for the Shallow Bag Bay boardwalk repairs. Can we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Christine?
Yes, sir.
Second by Darrell. Any discussion on this matter? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry. The ayes have it, motion carries. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up on the agenda, item number 7. This is for information. Discussion of recycling program. At the board's last meeting, there was a discussion of the recycling contract and there was a proposed amendment by that was insisted by Bay Disposal. They are the current contractor providing curbside recycling service. At direction of the board, we have put out on all of our media channels requests for public comment on the recycling program in light of the proposed changes. We put on social media, website, and of course invite public comment tonight, and public comment will come next. As background, this is the contract where the town entered into the contract in June 2017. It's a 5-year contract with Bay Disposal, but due to some of the changes with overseas recycling acceptance of materials, especially in China, their decision in 2018, as well as other countries, there has been some disruption in the places that can take these recyclables. Bay Disposal came to the town of Manteo, like it has with other jurisdictions in the Outer Banks. What they're asking of us are 2 things. They're asking that we at least suspend, or if not waive, the condition that they can only recycle, that they can't incinerate, because right now they're incinerating at the Wheelabrator facility up in Virginia. It's a waste-to-energy facility. Second, Bay Disposal is asking for a 50% increase in the unit cost for the curbside roll cart service, and they indicated they would discontinue if we didn't agree. So some of the options we had talked that have been discussed include continuing the recycling service as it is. Right now, the current estimate is $15,000 to $20,000 a year, Although the majority of our citizens currently do not recycle under the free curbside program, there's still a significant tonnage that is recycled throughout the town of Manteo corporate limits. Another alternative would be to eliminate curbside recycling service. In this case, if the material was tipped in the landfill using our own sanitation trucks, it would save the town about $10,000 a year. However, it would go against the desire to offer recycling that was discussed by this board over a period of many years. Next would be to offer a subscription-based recycling service. Right now, that would mean a pretty significant uptake. A large number of citizens would have to take this and pay for it themselves. I don't know whether that's a feasible option, but it's certainly something we can talk to Bay Disposal about. We have talked to them about it. They wanted to have 250 customers sign up, and that would be about 80% of our current base of recycling users. Last, we were trying to see if there was an opportunity for us to offer recycling stations around town and focus on the things we can recycle using the county transfer station. So things like cardboard and glass, where we could put our own facilities in, tip those, and take them to the county. And that would be a service we could offer to recycle at least some of the highest priority materials for the recycling stream. At this point, I know that there may be people here to talk in public comment about that, but so far we've not had public comment via either our website, social media, or any of those other places where we put it out there.
All right, what you've heard from the town manager, what's the board's feeling? You want to hear more from the public, or?
How can we get more input from the public right now? I mean,
Well, that's a good question.
we've got, and I know we've got public comment tonight, but
You're right.
before all this, we had hoped to have a few more people in the room. So I don't know if there's anything we can do to elicit more after tonight. I know we'll get some public comment, but
How about, has the town manager, have you got any recommendations personally as a collective thing that the board can do?
In the
Or
short,
should we go ahead and accept it?
right now, my current in the current environment, I would like to get some more feedback. I think that's important. Like I say, although the majority of residents currently do not recycle, it's certainly important to listen, because there was a big outreach at the time this happened, according to the minutes of the meeting.
Some people don't want to recycle.
Right. So we've seen some who've chosen not to take it. At this point, in order to keep the service going in the current environment, my initial recommendation was simply to do a temporary suspension of the prohibition against the incineration option and a temporary increase to the end of the fiscal year. But we would want to decide, we want to decide by June, before the fiscal year end, to determine whether we take our alternative recycling options or we eliminate it altogether. And that would buy us a few months to try and get more public comment.
and maybe the message on social media and all that, as I understand, has been come and give us public comment. Maybe we could ask for people to email or send it to us on whatever platform we're asking for it, and maybe that'll.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe they can email their comments and we'll distribute them. That way we all can see them instead of somebody coming in face to face and telling us. My opinions about it are, I don't like a company strong-arm us into a open-ended contract that could be God knows what amount next year. So my feelings are we should offer some kind of recycling drop-off locations. I think we have one at Bowsertown that we could make a location. So something like that to me would make sense fiscally, but that's just my opinion. Again, I'd love some more public feedback.
Yeah, I'd like more public feedback. I know I've had feedback from a lot of my friends who are, they do recycle and they feel strongly about it. And I know that, it does save us money by not having, the excess weight in our trucks and things, but I'm not really keen on having to pay more, like Eddie says. But as far as a temporary measure, I think that might be the smartest thing to do until we can hear more or, at least discuss it more.
Well, Is there any way we could appeal to maybe the consumers, and, you know, because this is kind of a bad situation for their business to do us that way? Is there anything we could?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, right now, we don't have, although we don't have a protection from the state or any kind of consumer bureau, we are, though, actively reaching out to the state. Originally, as we mentioned last time, they are planning a meeting on March 30th to talk about this, but we don't know whether that meeting will take place in the current environment. So we're trying to find out from the state if they're going to meet with all the municipalities in the county still. If I may suggest, what we can do is set up a special email account like we do with Shell and Bay regulations. We'll set up a special email account called recycling@manteonc.gov. We'll publish it out there, try and get feedback by email or by phone in the absence of a lot of public interaction given the current environment, and then have it on your agenda at your April 1st meeting and let you know what feedback we've got, let me know if we can get any assistance from the state, and that way you'll have more information for your decision making.
Why can't we hold it in advance and have it on our April agenda? Is that viable?
Yes, sir.
I think that's what we ought to do.
Thank you. Okay, so next up on,
The commissioners will have opportunity to find out what people want. Yeah.
great.
We'll
And
schedule it for the April agenda.
And I think, we should also, once things settle down a bit more, maybe, get the word out to the citizens that, we have this service available to them. If we're going to continue it, that people need to take advantage of it in some way. But, if we continue on with it, and if they can, make it work as far as it actually being recycled.
Thank you.
Well, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the board. Appreciate that guidance. Next up on the agenda, item number 8, public comment. Members of the public are invited to address the Board of Commissioners on any topic. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions or to take any action on items brought up during the public comment period. Speakers will address all the comments of the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Time limits are 3 minutes per person or 5 minutes per group. Please come forward to the podium and identify yourself so that your statements can be recorded.
All right, we'll declare public comment period open, and
You can go ahead now.
would anybody like to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Bill Husted, and I live at 209 Compton Street in Manteo. And I want to speak in favor of continuing the recycling program. I understand it's a complex situation, lots of different things involved, marketplace, changing in technology. But I think all the solutions that we come up with are going to start with collecting the recyclables. So momentum that's already been gained, a lot of energy spent in starting that. So it makes sense to me to continue that effort, even if it's not the ideal situation on the back side of the process. Let's keep the front side of it going so we don't have to start that from scratch again. I think it's also, we've got to think about the amount of plastic that's going into landfills today. It doesn't go away, so we're going to run out of space. So if we can recycle that, get it into either energy, other usable products, I think we're going to be doing ourselves a favor for downstream. I would be in favor of giving the authorization for them to use the Wheelabrator facilities in Virginia. I've done a little bit of research on that. It looks like it is a clean process that they're using. There's a couple of YouTubes that you can go out and see online if you're interested. Explains how that is recycled, all the processes that's used to get all the chemicals out of the air, make sure nothing's going back into the air. So I can provide a link to the YouTubes if you would like on that. And the other thing that I would like to suggest is that we get involved with the state and get behind their Recycle Now. NC, I believe, is the name of the program that the state is doing. help educate people. I think the town of Manteo could pick up on use that as an education basis for our citizens, get them on board, try to expand the recycling program as opposed to shut it down. So that's basically my comments. I'd be glad to work with town staff. I'm sure you've got plenty on your plates already. If I can be of some help to help research alternatives, explore items, I'd be glad to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Would anybody else like to be heard? Would anybody else like to be heard? If not, we'll close the public comment period. All right, we have a need to go into closed session. Can we have a motion?
I move to enter closed session to consult an attorney.
All right, second.
Second.
Motion by Eddie, we go in closed session, second by Christine. I think it's Christine.
Oh, it was Betty.
Betty, I'm sorry, I weren't listening. Can we have, all in favor of going in closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. We're now declare ourselves in closed session. Okay, Mr.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as we can report that the board has exited closed session, no action was taken other than to exit the closed session. And if we can have a motion to enter into open session.
So moved.
All right. There's been a motion made, there's a second, that we come into open session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. We're now in open session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next item is item number 10 on the agenda. This is for information purposes. This is mayor and commissioners' comments.
Eddie?
I know just some scuttle about it earlier, but maybe some suggestions about our budget retreat meeting next Friday. I think it might be prudent to set that to a later date. I don't know what date to set it at, but maybe something later. And then I know you talked earlier about video conferencing or teleconferencing for future meetings. Maybe whenever you get some information about that to enlighten us, please. That's all I have.
Jason?
I agree with both those things, so nothing else to add, really.
Betty?
First, I want to hear that the facilities department did some deep sanitizing today. I want to thank that department for sanitizing this stuff. I did want to say real quick, concern for small business owners, especially everywhere, but especially in the town of Manteo, because I know we have a lot of, probably all of our businesses may be under the small businesses. During this time where they can't be open or gathering. And I think Commissioner Mann said something about work out something maybe with the markets and the business where they can have a call in. One, just doesn't know what we're thinking about, I was thinking about them anyway. And the meal program, there's no school, but the school cafeteria is still providing meals for students. If any of the commissioners have the opportunity to go to some of the sites to see that, it's amazing why our children are still being served meals that may not have meals. We like to think that don't happen in Manteo, but it does. So if you have the opportunity, just swing by there at the 16 locations and just check it out.
Christine?
No, I just want to thank, all the town staff and for, continuing with the services, the level of services that we expected even in the face of, this unprecedented event. And I know they'll handle it as great as they do anything that comes our way. And, just please, James, if there's anything that, the board can do to help with, anything that the staff might need, please let us know. And Just stay safe. Wash your hands.
Yeah,
Well, I would like for us to postpone the April 8th meeting and schedule it for the workshop meeting on the 22nd.
The 8th or the 1st?
do we need a
It's-
motion for that?
Is it first? April
First, April 1st.
We need a motion for
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say do
Combine
that.
them and push back.
Yeah. Is it April 1st?
Well, April 1st
Yeah.
is the first Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and appreciate the feedback, Commissioner Collins. I would certainly agree that having a meeting in person, our next schedule, I've heard loud and clear, we will, and we agree to postpone the March 27th budget retreat. We can certainly reconvene that either electronically or in a different format as appropriate. The next formal meeting would be March 1st, and I believe we only have a couple of items on the agenda. We believe between now and then, we can establish a telephone conference where the public can listen to it in accordance with the statute, where you all don't have to meet physically.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to play it by ear. We can't sit here, because you don't know what the federal and state government's gonna tell us to do between now and then.
Yep.
Nobody knows what's going on.
Yes. So we're definitely cognizant of the concerns about having the physical meetings. We believe we'll be ready for the April 1st meeting. We can certainly put out the word. If you'd like, when you go to the adjournment to recess, what you may choose to do is to recess it until the April 1st meeting, or as otherwise directed by the board.
Yeah, we
And
can
that would give us
call
some
a
flexibility
meeting
for
anytime we
recess.
want to, just by advertisement.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
All
Commissioner.
right.
Appreciate
We'll
that.
meet April the 1st, unless you hear further notice.
Yes, sir.
Have we got to have a motion on that?
That's
On
Yes,
the
sir.
meeting-
Just
on the
regular.
meeting day?
The motion to adjourn, right?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It would, then I guess in this case, we would revise to say there would be a motion needed to recess the meeting until April 1st, 2020.
Yeah. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. All right, anything else? Adjourned.